Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Chamber Check-In episode from Idaho's only five-star accredited chamber. Today, we have a special treat for you. I have Senior Vice President of Sales for NetJets in the Big Sky region. It's Nick Literski. Before I bring him on, I just want to say how cool this is. NetJets is a world provider of private aviation, operating the largest, most diverse private aircraft fleet in the world. And so I'm just so stoked to have Nick with us today. I'm going to bring him on stage right now. Hi, Nick.
Hey, Paul. How are you today?
Hey, I'm terrific. Thanks for carving out a little bit of time with me today.
It's my pleasure. It's great to be here.
You know, it's not every day we get to have a global leader in private aviation in Boise, right in our market. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's exciting to be here. I'm actually in my office at Jackson Jet Center. So while we're global, we are very local as well.
I love that. You know, the average person doesn't really engage much with private aviation, but it's a needed business and it's right here. And I'm excited to help share the story of NetJets. But first, let's talk a little bit about you, Nick. You've been a steward of the chamber for several years now, and we have a similar background in our past industries. And so why don't you bring us up to speed? Tell us a little bit about you, your background, history of work that led you into I'll call it the hospitality industry.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. Well, first and foremost, I'm not new to Boise, which I always like to tell everybody that I work with in the area. I've been here for about 15 years with my wife and my two sons, and we love Boise. Originally from the Midwest, came from Wisconsin. You can maybe catch a little accent on me today for anybody who might be listening from that is from the Midwest. But yeah, I came here. I was actually in the hospitality business, as you kind of mentioned. Most previous to NetJets, I was in the luxury wine business. So luxury wine business, we had a winery in Napa Valley, $700-800 a bottle. So about 3 years ago, I really got to know the family over at NetJets through a special event, and never thought in a million years I'd be working for them, but I was very, very intrigued by it. And when you sell a $700 or $800 bottle of wine, there's a lot of synergies with people that may fly or need to fly private in those kind of circles. But yeah, just absolutely love it. Always been in hospitality, and I always say, they say, well, I've been with NetJets for just under 2 years. I wish I was with them for 25, because it's such an amazing company. So yeah, it's great to be here.
Thanks, Nick. And we love having you here locally. And our friends from Beloit, our Hendricks commercial property team, probably misses you, but glad you're here.
Know them well.
Hey, tell us a little bit about NetJets for those that don't know. What's the origin story? Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, it's really an amazing story. There's a lot of companies in our space that have come and gone in many, many years. The amazing thing is we started in 1964. And in 1964, we started as a company called Executive Jet Management. And it was started by two ex-Air Force generals. And when they were deciding where to headquarter NetJets or Executive Jet Management at the time, they chose Columbus, Ohio, which is where our headquarters is today. And the reason why they chose Columbus was because it was equidistant back in the 60s from all of the major business hubs, your Detroits, your New York, your Philly, your Chicago, St. Louis, and so on. And that's why they chose Columbus. And it's been our headquarters ever since. The history of how it became NetJets is really interesting. They saw a need back in the 60s of really flying people around in maybe more of a charter capacity, and never at that point didn't think about people fractionally owning a jet, which I'll get to in a minute. But that fractional idea really came about in the 80s with the company. and really rocketed into the stratosphere in 1998 when we were purchased by Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett. So it's an amazing story. But Warren, who has had many jets his entire life through his companies and whatnot, actually bought a program for his wife with NetJets, and she loved it so much that he turned around a year later and sold all the jets, all his private jets, and went with NetJets and bought the company. So it's a it's I always like to say, if it's good enough for Warren Buffett, it's definitely good enough for any business that's out there. But today, we're 1,100, over 1,100 aircrafts globally. If you put us up aircraft wise, we're second or third in the world. We're one of the only, if not the only, private aviation company that's debt free, which is another feather in our cap. When I mentioned earlier, there are so many companies that have come and gone in this space because it's a very difficult space to be in when you don't have scale. But yeah, the history is amazing, and to see where it's come from 1964, from two Air Force generals to owned by Warren Buffett today to be the global provider of aviation for the planet.
Well, I think that's great. Over 60 years old here. How long has NetJets been a provider to the Boise Metro?
It's a really good question. We have been a provider to the area for over 20 years, if not longer. However, in the last 10 years, the entire Pacific Northwest, and really what we call the Big Sky region, your Montanas, your Idahos, your Wyomings, into Washington and Oregon, has really blossomed for NetJets. One of the things that, if anybody would come on with us and become an owner with NetJets, you have that bandwidth. We have such a large company, so you always have access to your aircraft. And Boise just continues to grow. That's why my office is here. We have a number of companies that fly with us, and a number of private families and owners that fly with us here out of Boise.
Wow, that's incredible. We were talking yesterday at lunch, or a few days ago at lunch, diving into some of the programs and services. And one that really related well is, if you've ever driven north to McCall, and you've experienced some of the traffic and the road construction, bring it down to us. Like what type of services do you have? Can you fly to McCall? Can you hop on a jet and go to New York? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think, all of the above. And in the big misconception about private aviation, I think in general, getting into a company or trying a company like ours is you don't have to buy a jet. You certainly even don't need to buy a fractional program, which I'll explain in a second. Really, you can jump into flying with us for as little as $200,000 for a 25-hour jet card, which you have the access to use that over 2 years. And having the ability to do that, you just buy hours. You're not buying an actual jet, but you're buying access to a plane and fly it. What makes us different than, let's say, a local charter company or local provider is having over 1,000 aircrafts globally. Our planes are constantly flying around. So if, Paul, you're scheduled to fly out tomorrow morning, I'm looking outside my office right now, and I have 3 planes lined up that are NetJets. Those planes will either fly out today or tomorrow morning with owners, and they will fly somewhere. They will drop that particular person off, and they will either pick someone up or they'll reposition to another location. So getting in and trying us out, and I think when we talked about that McCall, the reason the McCall thing popped up is we don't charge our minimums like a lot of local providers. And we all know to fly up to McCall, it's not even close to an hour. Right. So when we talk about buying a 25-hour jet card to fly and basically use it for those stress of not having to take 55, you can take 30 nonstop trips back and forth to McCall using that. So it's just one of the opportunities you have. We also have leasing that's available. And then, yes, we do have fractional ownership. And I'll explain how that kind of works. When someone owns an aircraft, they own it outright. And I always tell people, I say, unless you're flying over 500 hours a year, you probably shouldn't own your own aircraft, because there's a lot of waste. And in those 500 hours, sometimes there's a lot of times where nobody's even flying on the plane. So what we sell you is the hours that you're actually going to occupy a plane. So we're allowed to sell 800 hours of access on a brand new jet. We only sell brand new aircrafts to our owners. We never buy used aircraft. And as if you were to talk to me and get more information, as we were to do a presentation, I'll explain how that works as far as depreciation and things like that. But if you were to buy 50 hours, you essentially have ownership of that particular jet or that tail of the jet of 50 hours. We would slice and dice those 800 hours as a whole. So to make it easy, if owner A buys 200, owner B buys 200, owner C buys 200, and owner D buys 200, we just sold that plane outright, and those 4 people own the jet. But you can slice it all the way down to 50 hours per person. So there's so many different ways to get into it, and there's so much access. And when you own your fractional with us, you have access to your jet 365 days a year with only a 4-hour call out to have your jet outside waiting for you.
I saw that on the website. In fact, I'm going to pull it up just so we can scroll through a few things, if you don't mind, Nick.
Absolutely.
I think it's pretty cool. You got a picture of this golfer here. And,
never heard of him.
You think about that level, a caliber of person that needs to get around. But it's really for anybody who needs to get around like that. Flying with the best. You mentioned that a little bit. The fleet that you have is brand new and within a 4-hour time period to get going. While I'm scrolling through here, maybe talk a little bit about some of the heightened experience that some of your fractional owners will experience while being fractional owners.
Absolutely. And if when you go to our website, you can see all of our fleet. We have light body jets, we have mid-sized cabin jets, we have super mids, and then we have large cabins. And you can see just the size, everything from a 6-passenger Phenom 300 all the way up to a Global 7500, which will take you to Honolulu to Switzerland nonstop, 16 hours. So we have the capabilities to not only get you to McCall in 30 minutes, or we can essentially get you halfway across the world. But when you experience what goes on with us is, all of our catering's included in your program. So if you were to buy that jet card, the jet card has your catering included. It has all of your fuel included. It has all of your de-icing included. And anyone who has ever flown private and chartered an aircraft, a lot of times you can be nickel and dimed. You can be charged for a landing fee. You can be charged for de-icing fees and catering fees, and it really starts to add up. I noticed the picture on there right now, pets. We have many, many pets that fly with us. You can bring your dogs, your cats. We've had parrots. We've had, you name it. Each one of those pets is treated just like an owner with our programs. But I also noticed when you were scrolling through just the access. You have so many amazing access points. We are the official partner of the PGA Tour. If you're a golfer out there, you have access to swing clinics, VIP tents at the Masters, PGA Championship. All of that's included with your program. You don't pay for that. Equestrian events, concerts, food. We just did something up in Seattle. If anybody knows who Eddie Vedder is from Pearl Jam, we did a private concert with Eddie Vedder, and we had 100 of our owners attend. So 100 people doing a private concert just with Eddie Vedder, and then had a dinner afterwards, which is great. But there isn't a company out there that will give you what you paid for. This is essentially the greatest ROI for private aviation that you're ever going to invest in. And again, you don't have to be that person that's flying in a 14-passenger aircraft. You can just be flying up to McCall or going over to Sun Valley and having quick trips, or heading to Salt Lake or Vegas. We have a ton of owners here that love Cabo, and they fly down to Cabo. And imagine this, getting to Cabo and getting right off the aircraft and essentially not worrying about customs. They say, hello, welcome to Mexico. They check a few things and you don't have to deal with the commercial hassles that a lot of us deal with.
Wow, I'm on this page right now. 5,000 plus airports, 1,300 plus flights per day. What's the furthest that you can go? Is it like how much fuel can you get to Australia?
So yeah, yes, the answer is yes. The largest aircraft that we have is a Global 7500, soon to be trumped by the 8000, which we're taking delivery of. But that aircraft will go roughly 16 hours. So we can basically pinpoint here, Boise, 16 hours, whether we're going, I mean, that'll take you to Dubai, it'll take you to middle of the world. And many, many places beyond. So it really depends on where you're going, where you're at, and really what your mission is. The other thing about, with NetJets is you have the ability to use our entire fleet, where if you charter locally, there's only one or two aircrafts that you might have availability. This gives you complete access to really the largest fleet in the world to do whatever mission you need.
All right. What a fun little trip down through your website. I think it's amazing. I'm deathly afraid of flying, Nick, as you know, but this is something I could probably get into.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, Paul, because we have this pillar, we call it the 2020 flight plan. And it's really the pillars of what makes us so successful. And for us, the number one top thing is safety. If we do not put safety first, everything else crumbles underneath the pyramid, because safety is the number one thing with us. We have over 5,400 pilots globally. There are 12,000 employees at NetJets, and our pilots are rated the highest rating of any pilots, even as high as the commercial pilots. And one little fun tidbit is NetJets is a global umbrella of companies. We have NetJets at the top. We still have a company called Executive Jet Management that handles private charters or one-off flights. So if anybody's looking for a private charter, I can handle that as well. Maybe not buying a NetJets program. We have a security company. So if you need private armed guards when you travel, we can provide that as well. But one of the companies that we own is Flight Safety. And if anybody who's listening or watching knows Flight Safety, our competitors come to us to train their pilots.
Oh, wow.
So it's quite interesting when you own the actual company that trains all of these pilots. It puts you above really your competitors.
Okay. Well, hey, we got a few more minutes here, Nick, and I couldn't be more honored to have you here on the broadcast. It's so nice to have some physical person here that can pick up a phone and come and make a presentation and be there. Is there anything else while we have you that you'd like to educate the listeners on?
Well, I think you nailed it. I mean, I'm local. That's a very, very, if you look at any of our competitors, with the exception of small charter local companies, if you look at our competition right behind us, they don't have anybody in the Boise market. I handle Idaho, Montana, and Oregon. I find myself in Montana and Oregon quite a bit, but I am local. So not only we could do a call, we can do a Teams call like this and learn all about what we have to offer, but I can actually meet you, or you can come to Jackson Jet Center and view a plane. If you need to see a plane, if you want to meet a pilot, if you want to learn more about it, our companies and our competitors don't have that access. And to have somebody locally that you can talk to and get information, I think really sets us apart from our competition.
I love it. We need more of that. That absolutely. So fly with the best, all pricing included, and you got Nick here in your back pocket.
I think you nailed it. You got all three right there, Paul.
Awesome. Hey, thanks again for investing in the Boise Chamber. It means a lot to us, Nick. And let me know how we can help in the future, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, Paul. We love being a part of the chamber, and I recommend it to every business that I meet that's not already a member. And thanks for being the leader at the chamber as well.
Absolutely. Nick, say hi to the fam for me. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Paul.